Before Luka Dončić ever stepped into an NBA arena, the league had already decided what kind of player he would be. A European star with high skill but limited athleticism. A prodigy whose brilliance might not translate to a league built on speed, burst, and electricity. The NBA feared him, not because of what he was, but because of the possibility that they were wrong about him. Because if Luka succeeded, it meant the assumptions guiding decades of evaluation and development were flawed. And now, year after year, game after game, he is turning that quiet fear into undeniable truth. Luka arrived in the NBA with a resume that didn't make sense for his age. EuroLeague MVP at 19, a champion overseas before most American prospects had finished learning how to orchestrate a college offense. His game carried maturity beyond his years, a sense of control that belonged more to seasoned veterans than teenagers. But even then, the league clung to its biases. European guards, they believed, lacked the physical edge needed to dominate. Luka didn't sprint, he didn't explode, he didn't glide above defenses, he just read them. And in today's NBA, that might be the most dangerous skill of all. The fear surrounding Luka wasn't rooted in his athleticism, it was rooted in his mind. The NBA was not prepared for a player who could manipulate pace with such precision, who could turn the game into a series of decisions he dictated, rather than situations he reacted to. Luka doesn't run past defenders, he puts them into positions where running becomes irrelevant. He doesn't jump over contests, he renders contests meaningless. Defenders who spend their careers training to take away speed suddenly find themselves helpless against slowness, weaponized slowness, deliberate slowness, slowness designed to control every inch of the floor. His step back isn't a trick, it's a message that a player who doesn't look physically overwhelming can still dictate the terms of engagement. His passing is not creativity for its own sake, it is orchestration. The ball leaves his hands at the perfect moment, with the perfect angle, drawing defenses into traps they don't see until the shot is already in the air. Luka doesn't play the game in real time, he plays it a possession ahead. And that is the heart of the league's fear. The NBA thrives on athletes who can break systems. Luka breaks systems without moving fast enough to challenge them physically. When he came into the league, coaches believed they could speed him up, bump him off balance, force him into rushed decisions, but he couldn't be sped up, couldn't be forced into directions he didn't want. The game bent to his rhythm, and once that rhythm settled in, the league had no answers. Defenders learned that physicality didn't disrupt him, traps didn't frighten him, switching didn't neutralize him. The league built defensive structures for decades to handle athletic superstars, players who rely on explosion, not manipulation. Luka forced the NBA to confront a different kind of dominance, a dominance rooted in patience, craft, timing, leverage, and vision. He became the player analytics departments warned the league might eventually produce, a heliocentric force capable of running an entire offense through feel, reading coverage like a quarterback dissecting a defense. His size made him unguardable by traditional point guards. His pace made him unguardable by wings. His strength made him unguardable by bigs. There is no matchup that neutralizes Luka, because no matchup changes the internal clock he imposes on the game. The fear deepened in the playoffs. Postseason basketball is supposed to expose weaknesses. It is supposed to punish players who rely on comfort, and yet Luka thrived. Not because he elevated physically, but because he elevated mentally. He hunted mismatches with cold precision. He dismantled switching defenses by creating angles no scouting report could predict. He didn't shrink under pressure. He thickened it around opponents. The Clippers learned that firsthand, 2 years in a row. Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, two of the most physically imposing perimeter defenders of their era, could not bend Luka into discomfort. He forced them into rotations they weren't used to, decisions they didn't want to make, and shots they couldn't stop. His anger was quiet, controlled. Every big moment felt less like an eruption and more like a calculation, a step toward an outcome he had already imagined. The NBA feared Luka because he represented a new model of superstardom, a model where athletic limitations meant nothing, where the game's geometry could be rewritten by one player armed with vision and touch, where the rhythm of a possession could be slowed enough to fracture a defense from within. And then something deeper happened. Luka's emotional edge sharpened. He became more confrontational, more defiant. The smile disappeared in key moments, replaced by a stare that carried a message the league understands well. I do not fear your physicality. I do not fear your stars. I do not fear your system. What the NBA feared most wasn't Luka's talent, it was his personality. A superstar who welcomes contact, who mocks pressure, who embraces the villain role with casual indifference. Luka doesn't look intimidated when facing great teams. He looks entertained. That psychological edge, rare, unsettling, undeniable, turns games into theaters where opponents feel the weight of his confidence long before the final buzzer. The NBA sees what he is becoming, a player who cannot be sped up, cannot be pushed around, cannot be schemed out of games. A player who combines old-world fundamentals with modern spacing, creating a hybrid no defensive system was designed to stop. He is not the future the NBA marketed. He is the future it hoped wouldn't materialize. A superstar crafted from angles instead of explosiveness, built through intelligence instead of athleticism, defined by calculation instead of chaos. A player who breaks schemes by refusing to let the game speed past him. And the NBA now understands the truth it once resisted. Luka Dončić is not an exception to the evolution of basketball. He is the next logical step, a step the NBA feared, a step it cannot reverse, a step toward a new definition of dominance, one rooted not in how high or how fast, but in how deeply a player understands the game. Luka is becoming exactly what the NBA was afraid of, a superstar without physical weaknesses, without strategic counters, and without any intention of letting the league dictate how he should play. He is rewriting the rules, not with force, but with clarity. And the NBA will spend years trying to catch up.